It's character building, master!
Welcome back to It's Character Building, a show where every week we pick a theme.
And then we go away and build some Pathfinder Second Edition characters based on that theme.
And then we come back and talk about them as a group.
Today we have with us Katrina.
Hello.
And Ruby doing some fantastic artwork.
Hi.
Our theme for this week is Level 2 Underlings.
Underling.
Henchfolk, minions, sidekicks, anything in that domain. So, Kat, what have you built for us?
I have made a drummer.
A drum?
Yeah, so I got a little goblin in a band who sits behind the lead singers and plays his tin pots.
Love that.
Yes.
I don't think drummers are going to appreciate you calling them underlings.
Oh no, our demographic of drummers has dropped by 50%.
They do sit down.
So a goblin, you said.
Yeah, so I got a little goblin bard, and his name is Drummah. Because that's how I name things.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah. So I had a bit of I had a little bit of back and forth thing, like trying to work out, things like background and stuff. Like I started off in barkeep, and then I was like, this isn't really doing anything, and so I went to artisan, because there's also one of the ancestry feats for goblin is junk tinker. So I was like, oh, let's lean into this.
Okay,
kind
cool.
of crafty.
I was going to ask because artisan is crafting based background.
Yeah. So it's like he's built his own drum kit.
Resourceful, we love it.
He's also probably good to mention, he has a tail. So he's his heritage is tailed goblin.
Tailed? What does a tail look like on a goblin?
Like a monkey
It's
tail.
kind of like a monkey tail, yeah. And so the idea behind that is you can climb up walls and still hit things.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Does he use his tail to drum? Is it a
That's
third?
what I kind of
hand?
envisioned. So I found out that clubs are free, so he's got two clubs, because you got to hit the drums with something,
Wait, as in free price-wise?
Price-wise.
So it was just based entirely on the fact that he's skint.
He's a drummer.
He's a drummer.
Hey, he's a tinker. He picks things up and goes, "Well, that could make a loud noise if I bang it on something."
Yeah, it's a big clang.
Yeah. So I gave him specifically a heavy instrument, because that's his drum kit, and I also gave him a come along, which is just like a mechanical thing for pulling things along flat surfaces.
Okay.
So he does have a way of bringing his drums with him. I'm sorry, Ruby.
So herein we have a bit of a mechanical trouble, because bards they use their instruments to cast their magic, right? So for a drummer with a full drum kit, I guess they face the same problem drummers do in real life, which is transporting their instruments.
I mean, well, that's why I got the come along.
Yeah. Oh, you've got a rickshaw? No worries there.
If he ever has to take up any stairs, that's a bit more problematic. But maybe the portable version is the triangle.
Another route you could go with that would be the one man, if he's a tinker and has crafting specialty, is the one man band with the big bass drum out front and the hi-hat and as he walks, clangs like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Oh, I love that.
But I did kind of very much envision the dungeon, you've got the goblin band in the dungeon, and so the magical item that I took was bottled lightning. So I'm thinking of that as stage theatrics. You chuck it on the ground, give everyone an electric shock. It's great.
Iconic. I love that. What would his band's name be?
That's what I wanted to know. First thing that comes to mind.
The band.
Just, I mean,
Is there
first thing that
Drummah from the band.
From the band.
Like the Clash, but
What's the outfit situation?
Leather.
Okay.
Now, when you say leather,
Leather.
like
Are we talking like adventurer leather? I'm wearing hides, or are we talking like the band Kiss?
yeah, or is he wearing skin tight black leather?
Yes. That is what's happening now.
You have no choice. It's Kiss.
Okay, it's skin tight leather. Okay, goblin skin tight leather.
I mean,
let's
I
do
love
this.
the idea of like this like mad little goblin band, and they all have like face paint and rocking out.
I mean, it's just occurred to me that it could be the band, but BANNED. Because
Yeah.
they're so bad that no one lets them in
love that.
anywhere. So they're the band. Oh, we're banned.
They only play in dungeons because they're not allowed into any other bars.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, because you're a bard, which is obviously a spellcasting class, what kind of spells did you end up taking for this drummer?
I mean, I took days because I thought that was thematic.
Classic.
Telekinetic projectile. I was like, you could have some sort of sonic reasoning about that. I'm pretty sure.
Totally.
Was there anything else particular that you wanted to speak on for Drummah? The drummer?
I guess one of the important things for bards is the maestro.
Totally.
Not the muse.
Your muse.
Which
yeah.
which in my case
Is-
is the maestro
Yeah.
because that's the lead singer of the band. Is
Cool.
the
So the
muse.
muse,
Of course.
the muse is
Yeah.
the lead singer.
I got him into drumming. And like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's awesome.
I like the idea of having like for people that have like warlocks, for example, or bards and things that have beings that they look up to or worship or like follow. I like the idea of having them actually be
Just
in, like really close, like just a guy.
Yeah. It's singer.
Singer, drummer, singer,
singer, strummer,
singer, strummer, and drummer.
bass.
But what happens if the band breaks up?
I guess you find another goblin. There's quite a lot of them. And, they don't need to be that good, I don't
Singer.
think.
They're not
Two.
picky. Singer 2, Electric
Yeah.
Boogaloo.
If you sing, you inspire me. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of bards not actually fighting anything, just standing around inspiring each other.
So,
Amazing.
like, weirdest thing about Drummah is that one of the bonus spells that, like, I had to take was Soothe.
Yeah, but
There's this kind of weird thing about, like, building characters sometimes is, like, you just, sometimes you get a drummer that has
but like
soothe
soothe
spell.
soothe doesn't have to be soothing for them. Like it's a magic spell.
Yeah, right.
So
You
the
just
soothe
play
can
to
take
soothe yourself.
any shape that Drummah wants to. It just
I'm really stressed, so I'm just gonna bang it out on these drums.
so you put it on yourself, or like he plays the drums. It should be stressful for whoever's on the
Maybe
receiving
it's
end,
soothing for goblins.
but it's not. Sure, like
Or,
you can flavor that however you like.
yeah.
just like a really like rhythmic,
Humans
like
just-
trance-inducing beat. Like it's just like that.
Humans
that
just don't understand goblin
Sight.
music.
Yeah.
Like,
trance. Yeah, that's so fun. Well, what underling have you brought to the character building table,
Oh, me?
Tyler? Yes.
Mine?
Yeah.
Fabulous. I have created his title is the Lion Piper.
Oh, a
His
title.
actual name is Chask. Because I looked up Yosoki, rat folk names, and apparently they're just like really short, punchy names. So Chask.
So rat folk.
He's a rat folk.
Yeah, cool.
Or a Yosoki. And he's a long snout rat. So he's if you've seen the meme of the creature that's like, it's the Phantom of the Opera, and it's like, sing for me, my angel, sing. It's got a little snoot. That's what he looks like.
I don't understand that reference at all.
So take a rat and then sort of like grab its nose and just stretch it out.
Pointy.
He's got a very snooty snoot. And the lion piper actually works as an underling. And this is where I went with it. I was like, well, if I'm building an underling, who for, right? You pick the
master.
The master,
Yeah.
and then you pick the underling. So he actually works for the Rat King. Or a Rat King. A king of rats.
Like an actual rat king. Like
well, because
10...
like mythologically, rat kings are a ball of rats with their tails tied together.
Awful.
I
The
thought
worst.
a fantasy rat king could just be like 3 or 4 Yosoki with their tails tied together. So it's effectively a council, but they're all are
connected.
telekinetically connected because
I
that's
hate
the whole
that
idea
so
of it.
much.
So the rat king lives if you want to picture like deep under a city, there's a whole like Yosoki city, like an undercity, and Chask, the lion piper, because he's a piper but he's also lion.
So what kind of pipe does he play?
Well, so this is where I also approached it from, was I was like, the Pied Piper, right?
Yep.
Controls rats. So this is a Pied Piper rat. He plays a little like handpipe, but it's got a tuft of lion fur to justify the horrific pun that is his title. The Rat King obviously just calls him Chask. Chask, do the thing. But
So
4 voices.
So he's sort of like a diplomat.
Yes.
For
I actually gave him the emissary background,
Right.
because he is the one that the Rat King sends out to smooth over things. And so for that reason, I actually also gave him the linguist dedication.
Cool.
Which is just bonkers because it gives you like 3 extra bonus languages just for taking the dedication. And then if you take multilingual, I'm pretty sure it gives you bonus languages within multilingual. So Chask can speak Emeran, Common, Draconic, Dwarven, Gnomish, Goblin, Halfling, Necril, Orcish, Sylvan, and Yosoki. So he is truly can go around, speak with anyone, charm anyone, and all of these spells I gave him as a bard are all emotion-based spells. So things like agitate, daze, soothe, charm. He goes around playing his little flute and like winning over towns and like basically making it so that no adventurers come down into this undercity and murder the Rat King, which would be absolutely so much fun.
yeah, 3 rats tied together.
So the Pied Piper kind of kidnaps children. Does
yes.
Does Chask,
Kidnap children?
does he save children?
As for the full opposite effect?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like no, because if anything, he's also going to be capturing children to feed the Rat King.
Yeah, if the Rat King and
think
his
it's necessary.
court, if the Rat King and his court had an alignment, like, are they just, a regular Yosoki, settlement or city,
probably
or
like chaotic. I'd say they're chaotic. He's chaotic neutral, Chask. But I think overall they don't really care either way.
What's good for rats is good for rats, and we don't care about anybody
Yeah,
else.
exactly.
Yeah.
As far as if he kidnaps kids, I think maybe. I think he does what he's told, right? That's the whole idea, is like he, much like the Grand Vizier, and it's funny, actually, I also have Maestro muse, and just I was like, well, the Rat King, right?
Yeah.
That's his muse, is the guy that he serves. I think as far as like looks, he's got this like long snoot and he dresses very fine because he has to go out
Does he
into
have the
polite
poofy
society.
little pants?
It's always the thing with bards, is like, do they have the poofy little pants? And I think yes, definitely.
He does.
For Chask.
Very good.
Because he dresses in the way that he thinks is going to be impressive in court to other people.
the more material, the more that costume must have cost.
Yeah, so fancy.
But what kind of material do the rat folk use to make their fine clothes?
That's a good question. I feel like he could have bought it elsewhere, but I do love the idea of like finery woven out of just like hessian or like potato bags or like...
What kind of rat, by the way?
It's a long snout rat.
Long snout, right. Because I was like, tunnel? Like maybe underground, but long snout.
No, snooty boy.
Snoot. Very good.
Snooty boy.
Any final comments on
It's
Chask?
pretty much just that. I think it's very fun because it's always fun to play a character that doesn't excel in combat. Like, it excels as well as a bard does, but I haven't given him anything specific. He uses a blowgun as a weapon just because he's a piper. It makes sense. Although you can't shoot a dart out of a pipe. Because of the holes.
And on that note.
And on that note, Ebony.
Yes.
What kind of underling have you built?
Well, I would like... picture me this. A dark and dingy laboratory. And strapped to the table is some being of some manner. And unconscious and standing over them is is like a tall, lanky, elf with crazy hair. And next to him is a small gnome. And that's Spitball. Spitball is the lab assistant to, I imagine, a essentially insane scientist, Frankenstein
Classic.
level crazy. I think elf. And I think elf because Spitball is a gnome. And I think that his liege, his lord of crazy science is like interested in like magical arts, but like forbidden magical arts.
Plus, like, elves have longer to go mad, right?
Way longer.
They live for just like ages.
Totally.
So if anyone's going to go mad, it's the guy that's 200 years old and has spent the last 100 of them reading occult tomes.
Yeah, and I like to think that he like kidnapped Spitball as like a tiny...
Oh, do you like to think that?
as like a tiny gnome child, because, gnomes have inherent magic and all of that, and raised Spitball as his own servant.
Does the laboratory have a sign that says no place like gnome?
I'd like to think that like the cupboard under the stairs where Spitball lives has a little sign that says no place like gnome. And I think Spitball follows the mad scientist, but I don't think he necessarily enjoys it. Like, I think there's some inherent good somewhere in Spitball. He's just only ever known evil and mad science.
Only ever gnomed it.
But because Spitball is essentially the lab assistant to this mad scientist, I made him an alchemist. Specifically a toxicologist.
Cool.
So all of his alchemical formulae are poisons, and a lot of them are actually non-lethal, because obviously you don't want to kill the test subjects that you're capturing from the street and bringing back to your mad laboratory. So a lot of them stun or daze or render unconscious.
If he's kidnapping people, is he particularly thick? Like, I don't mean dumb. I mean, is he like, because
Well, no.
I feel like for a gnome, you'd have to be pretty chunky if you're hauling kidnapped victims.
I think he's not the only underling
Sure.
of this mad scientist. He's
Sure.
just the... I think he's probably, at least in the eyes of the mad scientist, the most loyal. And he does what he's told. So he'll go out and he'll scout for potential subjects, and then I gave him a blow dart, obviously a little blowgun, because you can get them from afar. But I also found a really cool piece of gear that I thought really suited, which is called the poly tool, which is basically a utility knife. So it can be It is a small metal rod with a number of simple tools folded inside, which is a long ceramic blade, as well as an awl, a chisel, a file, a flint and steel, a hook, an ink pen, a magnifying glass, pliers, scissors, and a small saw.
Wow.
Right. And it actually just at a base.
So it's the, item version of an investigator.
But at its base, it still deals 1d6 plus 2. So, good for stabbing, but specifically handy for administering some poison. So,
cool.
Yeah, Spitball. I like to think he has like a little lab coat, and he's like sort of ratty and kind of dirty and like a little bit crazy.
I love the lab coat thing because it's just like every time I've played a campaign where someone's like, oh, and he's sciencey, it's like lab coats are ubiquitous in all themes,
Even if they're a
like
psychologist.
fantasy. Yeah, exactly. Like everyone, if they do any sort of science, lab coat. Is it the Middle Ages? Lab coat. Like.
And I like to think he's got like little goggles as well. He's your full mad scientist lackey.
Yeah,
like quintessential
little mad gnome.
And yeah, like a bandolier with all of his little poisons and all his little blow darts. Yeah, Spitball. Which is probably maybe not the name that the elf originally gave him, but it's his name now because he's just been called that.
Why would
for
the
so
elf
long.
have named him? He have already had a name?
He doesn't know it.
Was he just spitballing?
I can't think of a name here. Spit. Ooh.
So one of the things that I gave him is theoretical acumen, which is a gnome ancestry feat, which you can use once per day when you succeed on a skill check to identify a creature. And basically what it does is, and the flavor for this is because he's essentially a scientist and they have all sorts of creatures and things come through. And you can use the triggering check. So you can use your successful check in place of a bunch of different things before the end of your next turn. So you can use it in place of a saving throw against one of the creature's abilities. You can use it in place of perception.
So you can be like, I've figured this guy out.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, he's probably going to do those things, and I'm going to be prepared for it.
And you can use it instead of your deception modifier to feint, or intimidation to demoralize.
That's
like,
feint with an E. You don't...
Yeah, so you can use it to swap out a whole bunch of things, which is really cool. And I also gave him alchemical savant, so you can identify alchemical items really quickly because
Makes
you're
sense.
in the lab. A couple of the formula that I took, I particularly like yellow musk vial. Which is a powdered pollen from a yellow musk creeper, and it addles the mind, and it basically causes people to be fascinated by a cloud of poison. And at its stage 2, the subject, the what is it? Victim, is fascinated by the poison cloud and can use no actions but to move closer to the cloud's point of origin.
Oh.
So they'll just keep moving towards it, which is very cool.
Is Spitball evil?
Is Spitball evil? I think maybe he's...
You can just say yes.
Yeah, I think he might be evil. But probably like lawful evil.
Sure.
Like, it's all in the name of science and his master. His master's word
What's
is
his
law.
master's name?
Oh, I don't know.
Does he have a moniker?
It'd be like Doctor, for sure.
Dr. what?
Dr. Elf.
I am the evil Dr. Elf. Bring me more victims.
Doctor, there's no reason that the doctor would have to tell Spitball his name. It's not important to Spitball. Spitball just does what he says. You don't introduce yourself to your lackey.
I just had a terrible idea about Dr. Elf.
Yes.
In that, is Dr. Elf like a washed up former sitcom or like actor, and he was the star of a show called Dr. Elf, where he was like this handsome, suave elf doctor.
He is now.
And he can't let go of his past. It's his only claim to fame, and so that's
What he's trying to deduce through all of his evil magical science is a way to like reverse time and go back.
No, not even reverse time. He's building like homunculi of the other characters so he can restage some like horrible.
But he's like,
That's what all the big.
every day he's just like talking to himself. He's just doing the lines from the show that his character had. Like,
Dr. Elf, he might. I don't think he's going to make it. He'll make it. Are you talking to me, Master? No, Spitball. Get out!
Dr. Elf,
Don't look at me.
Dr. Elf, I've always loved you. Not now, Cheryl. We're in the middle of an operation.
I'm trying to give this man 2 more kidneys.
For all of you, what is the only order that your character would not obey?
Like,
Stop.
No!
I mean, that's great. But, like, from their master. I think Chask wouldn't, if the Rat King was like, join us, and it was like, join the Rat King, he'd be like, no.
I'm good.
Fully A-okay on that front.
Prefer to be able to walk.
Yeah, walk, move around, talk. I mean, it would really help the Rat King because he'd learn all those languages, right? But then, would you use them that much? Probably not.
I think Spitball would probably refuse to like kill Dr. Elf.
Oh, kill Dr. Elf.
Yeah.
If Dr. Elf was like, kill me!
Spitball would be like, no, master, please.
Fair.
Yeah.
Thank you guys both for joining us today to build some underlings. Next episode, we are going to be building nomads. So people from nomadic backgrounds.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us for this episode of It's Character Building.
Make sure to comment below what you would have built for this theme and join us on the Discord to chat about it.
Yeah, we'll see you there and we'll see you next time. Thanks for
Thanks.
joining in.